Hi, welcome to OH-Brew. I'm Craig Morris and I like beer. And today we're at the Missing Mountain Brewing Company in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Let's take a look inside and see what they've got to offer.
This episode of OH-Brew is sponsored by Beer and Ale Traveler. They'll drive you to drink in style. Let Beer and Ale Traveler plan your next brewery or winery tour. Choose from their pre-planned tours or sit down with Rick to customize a tour for your group. And remember, you don't have to drive yourself. Ride in comfort in their limo-type bus with 2 flat-screen TVs and a rockin' sound system. Need transportation for a concert, birthday, or bachelorette party? Whatever the occasion, call Rick to set it up.
Hi there, welcome to OH-Brew. My name is Craig Morris, and we're here today at the Missing Mountain Brewing Company in Cuyahoga Falls. And joining me right now is
Keith McFarlane
and
Dave Bertolotti.
And thanks guys for having us here today.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it.
You got a beautiful facility here. Tell us how you got started in the beer business. And I know there's 4 owners. We only have 2 of the 4, but give us a synopsis of how everything started. Like some people started at the bowling alley, some people started in their garage sitting around drinking beer, that type of thing.
Yeah, so really it all started, Dave and I both were in physical therapy. We were athletic trainers, physical therapy assistants. We both worked for Akron General, and we went all the way back to college. We graduated from the same school, University of Akron, so that's how I got to know Dave. Ended up taking a job for the same company at different locations, but we always remained friends. We were both big snowboarders, so it kind of brought us together, and we would do trips together and just became close friends. So a few years I worked at Medina Hospital for about 5 years, and then after that I moved over to Akron General, where Dave was working. Part of working there, we would have students from the University of Akron. They would give us a small stipend for each semester that we'd have a student. So one year we decided, we're like, let's just take the money that we get for the stipend, we'll put it together, we'll buy a homebrew kit, and let's start homebrewing. Started in our backyard, and we did 2 batches the first time. But I was really annoyed with the fact that whenever you buy a kit, it would just have these ingredients. It would say, add this ingredient. Or it would say, basically just say, step 1, add package 1. Step 2, package 2. And it didn't really tell you what was in it. So I'd be calling the homebrew shop and say, hey, what am I putting in here? I love to cook, so I wanted to, and I love making up my own cooking recipes, so I wanted that to translate to brewing too. I wanted to make our own stuff. So after that, I vowed that, we're just going to start making our own recipes, whether it stinks, whether, whether it's great. We're gonna do the recipes on our own and just really try to learn what these ingredients are going to do to the product that we're trying to make. That was back in 2008. We homebrewed for a few years, and then one of our partners, Danny Yeagers and Dan Kepkart, got involved. Once we said that, we didn't want to, split 5 gallons of beer amongst 4 of us, because then, it's just not worth the time. So we invested in a bigger system, got a 1-barrel system. I started making 1 barrel at a time.
So you started out with a small brew kit, went the next level to, I call it a tea party system.
Yeah.
But, the really shiny, nice.
Yeah, we pretty much started on like a kitchen pot and a turkey burner. And then Keith and I built basically a kegel system, built a gravity feed stand and 3 vessels out of old kegs. And then we brewed on that for most of the legwork into when Danny and Dan got involved. And then basically we kept that system, but we moved up to a 1-barrel where we actually purchased the kettles. So we had Blakeman equipment. It was pretty good.
So you let them in because they loved the beers that you were making and wanted to be a part of it?
Yeah, and we were just really good friends with them. They wanted to be a part of it, and that's what it was about at that time. It was we'd get together on Sundays, and we'd brew beer, and we'd hang out all day, have some beers while we were doing it. Just not only was it a time for bonding, but we also got to play with our passion of trying to make a great product, and even though it was on the homebrew level. After a while of doing this, we always kind of joked two, that one day we're going to open up a brewery. We always said in 2025 we're going to open a brewery. And so we just started playing around, trying to figure out. I remember Dave and I were at a wrestling tournament. We were just talking back, like, what should we call our brewery? And just for fun, like, what do we call our home brew? And we came up with this idea of Missing Mountain. That was pretty early on. I think that was like 2011.
Yeah.
So where did that come from?
So Missing Mountain came from the fact that we love Ohio. We love everything about Ohio. The Four Seasons. It's a beautiful place. People don't give it enough credit for how beautiful Ohio is. But the one thing that is missing that is near and dear to our heart is mountain. So every year we'd go out west and go snowboarding.
That is very cool. So did you have some stinker beers, by the way?
Oh, there's always gonna be.
Was there some that just didn't?
Sure.
There's some. I mean, there would be some that were like, oh, this just didn't turn out. As far as home brewing, I would say we probably dumped 6 or 7 batches.
Different levels throughout the process too.
Yeah.
I mean, some got dumped early and some went to kegs and then got dumped.
Yeah. And even to this day, on a professional scale, we're still, there'll be a batch that it's not infected or it doesn't necessarily taste bad, but it's just not to our standards or it's just not to the style. Sure. And I don't want to put out a product that isn't of the highest quality because that's really important to us. So we'd rather dump it and try it over again and make it what it's supposed to be.
And now you've got a 10-barrel system?
We do.
Yep, 10-barrel system. We have 5 10-barrel fermenters and 1 20-barrel fermenter, 2 10-barrel brights, and 1 20-barrel bright.
And is this your full-time job, or
This is our full-time job.
Full-time job now?
We both left Akron General probably about a year before, a little less than a year before we opened. Just the amount of things that needed to be done, and it was just a lot.
Now, buying the equipment, how much fun was that?
The equipment buying the equipment was fun. It's a little daunting when you're looking at price tags like that and calling different companies and trying to figure out, which one's better and why is this one better than the other and what's the best system to go with.
Who'd you settle with?
We ended up going with Portland Kettleworks, and the biggest thing with them was their customer service. I called and asked for a quote and sent them an email. The next day, the owner of the company called me and talked to me for 20 minutes about their systems. And that went a long way with me. I called. We requested quotes from probably 4 or 5 different other manufacturers in the United States, and some of them took 6 weeks to get back to me.
Now, the grounds that you guys are on here, how did that come about? I mean, I know stuff like this just don't happen on a snap. You might have drove by this place 15, 20 times, maybe more.
Yeah, so it was in 2016, we had talked about opening a brewery, and it got more and more serious, but it was still kind of in this kind of joking thing. And my wife one day just said to me, she's like, if we're going to open up a brewery, we need to do it now. Yeah, so we started looking around, and my father-in-law actually owns this property. He had a couple properties, and we were looking at a couple other ones. One of the properties was going to be really safe. It was going to be one of those properties we could still work, open up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of a deal, have a much smaller system, and kind of have a little bit of a safer venture. And then we saw this property. We knew he had been working on this. So we sat down with him and said, hey, here's our business plan. Here's what we want to do. Can we make this work for this? And at first he was a little bit hesitant, but then once he saw us walking through all our ideas and he was really on board. And from there, it transpired. We did have some issues at first because we wanted to do a much smaller system. We have a seating area over on the other side that we were going to put our brew house. So we were going to have a really small tap room, have a nice patio, and I'm thankful to this day that didn't work out. We would have been very handicapped if we would have done that. We would have had some issues with flow, and it just wouldn't have been the best thing. The problem was our property finished where this building is. Our property ended at about 10, 15 feet outside of that.
Okay.
And the city of Cuyahoga Falls owned about 25 feet on the other side because there was a right-of-way for a drainage basin. And then on the other side of that, the state owns 7 feet to the bridge. So for us to be able to build a brew house, we were either going to have to go to this way, which would have cut into a parking lot, which is already too small, or we would have had to go over here and try to purchase the land. And we came up with the idea that that was going to be the best scenario. So we went to the city of Cuyahoga Falls and said, hey, we want to build a brewery. It's contingent on us being able to build a brew house. Would you be willing to sell this property? We took it to city council. They unanimously approved it. And about 6 or 7 months later, we broke ground on the brew house. Even then, still, we only had about 46 feet to work with. So we had to make sure that what we did was making the best use of that space. We ended up putting in a basement on the one side so we could have our boiler and our water filtration system. And then on the second level, on the main level, we put in 2 bathrooms to support our patio, as well as an area for a walk-in cooler. And then we also built up the ceiling a little bit higher than we had planned to, but what that did was give us a lofted area above that section where the basement was so that we could store all our grain. So we tow motor all of our grain into our loft, and then we have our mill up there. It gets augered into a grist case, and from the grist case, it then goes into the brewing system.
So you have a boatload of taps here
Yeah.
in the tap room.
We have 20 taps. The taps that we have are European cider wine faucets, and we decided to go with those. They're called Roto Vs, and we decided to go with those mostly for the fact that we like very smooth, rich, kind of creamy beers, especially for our IPAs. And with those taps, they pour a little bit slower, but you have so much more control over the pour. We run a 60-40 blend on our CO2 to nitrogen, and that adds to some of that creaminess. And we can foam it to wherever we need it to make it the perfect pour for that beer.
Very cool. Very cool. I like that. That's a nice added touch that not a lot of breweries do.
Recently, we just purchased 2. We love our Pilsners too. So, and one of our favorite is a Czech Pilsner. So we wanted to get a authentic Czech style side pull handle tap, which we currently have, and it's now on our tap system. So we have a Czech Pils that's lagering now. In a couple, probably 3 or 4 weeks, it'll be ready to roll. We'll tap that, and we'll be pouring them in a traditional Pilsner mugs and being able to foam them as they would in the Czech Republic.
So with 4 of you, do you all take a different role, or do you all do this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the assistant brewer, and I do most of all of our cellar work. So I do anything from brew days to transferring beer between tanks and kegging beer, checking CO2 volumes, checking gravities on beer. So I'm predominantly next door. So Keith develops recipes. I help him make them to come to life, and then try to get them to the taps the way they're supposed to be.
And since the other 2 aren't here to be on camera, why they're the custodial staff, the janitorial guys who take care of the restrooms.
They're the
I'm
guys
just
that
kidding.
have a full-time job too.
Yeah.
So Dan Kephart was one of the owners. He was very instrumental in getting us open. A lot of the things that he did were out of our realms, to be honest with you. He was very integral with the business plan and all the data that we needed to get collected to make sure that this was a bona fiable business plan. And Dan E., the other Dan, he's just a workhorse. He comes in, he brews whatever we need him to do. His full-time job is a lot with IT stuff, so anything that's IT related, he's our go-to. And
So you guys did well putting 4 people together.
Yeah,
We did. Our personalities and areas that we're strong in complement each other, which I think is a huge part of why we were successfully able to do what we did and getting this thing open.
The other thing that Dave does that he didn't mention is he's the head of all of our social media. So
That's
most
true,
of the time, if you see any posts that we put on social media or anything that we're outreaching to the community, Dave's behind it.
Yeah,
So he does a really good job with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
You guys have a website?
We do,
do.
yep.
The website is?
www.missingmountain.com.
Okay. And Facebook, just Missing Mountain
Yep.
Brewing Company.
Yep, same
Okay.
thing with Instagram also.
Yeah. We're going to probably cut this a little bit short because I'm really getting thirsty. I don't want this one to get totally warm, but it's my favorite part of this job. You know, as you can see, I'm really feverishly working hard.
Yeah,
But let's sample some of your beers. What do you say?
agreed.
good.
Let's do
Thanks.
it.
Cheers.
All righty, we're back with my favorite segment on OH-Brew, and that is the tasting episode. And here we are. We got some nice beers in front of us. Let's start here.
So this is Prince Juice.
Okay, tell me what I'm tasting.
So you're going to get a boatload of raspberry right off the bat.
Okay.
It's fairly creamy. It's got some vanilla in it. It is brewed with lactose, so it increases the body a little bit. But it's one of our fruited ales that we opened the brewery with. So opening weekend, this was on tap. This was something we kind of decided to do to have something striking, something colorful, something fruity.
Female friendly.
Female friendly for sure. It is very much a
We
favorite.
have plenty of guys that drink it too, though.
We do.
Well, I'm sure.
We do, and there's a huge population of people who love fruited beers nowadays. So we try to have something fruited for the most part on all the time. This is probably the mainstay of the one we have on most frequently, and we're hoping to have this in combination with Zwickel as something that's pretty gettable all the time here.
If there's one beer that we get requested or questions about,
Is that one?
if it's on tap, it's Prince Juice.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that don't like sour beers per se, but they do like the fruited side of the sours. And this is kind of a good blend. It's got that fruit. It's got a little bit of tartness, but it's pretty balanced. It still tastes like a beer. It does have just a little edge of sweetness, but it's not cloying, so you can have a couple of them and not feel.
Very refreshing.
Yep.
I mean, it's
It's
definitely a summertime.
great
you
hit in
know.
the summertime, especially on the patio.
Moving right along. Next.
Zwickel Trickle. This is probably one of my favorite beers that we make.
Where in the world did the name come up for this beer?
So a Zwickel is a tasting port on a tank.
Okay.
So in the brew house, we've got several faucet type ports that we can sample beer out of to take readings on multiple things. And actually, this came into play when we were having our equipment installed by Portland Kettle Works. I forget, there was something we were talking about, bleeding a Zwickel until it trickles, and we were just picked up on it and said Zwickel Trickle is a great name for a beer. And then this was a beer that we knew we were going to have and try to have a lot, and the name just fit, so we used it. But it's an all mosaic hopped New England style pale ale. It's not IPA, it's a pale ale. It
Okay.
gets confused a lot for IPA, but truthfully, if you drink it, I think you find it's a little bit more balanced and not overly hop forward. It is a hop forward pale ale, but not to the level where you're going to get that blast of fruit and citrus like you would in an IPA.
The malt of a pale ale still comes through on this
Yeah.
beer.
Great breakfast beer. Goes good with
Aren't they
bacon.
all good for breakfast?
You're right, they do.
I love it because it's like
I'm not
ABV.
questioning you at all.
I like the ABV.
Nail on the head there.
5.6%, so it's something that you can drink a couple of and not have to worry about getting taken to the cleaners like some of the IPAs that we do brew.
Yeah. Sunday mornings getting taken to the cleaners.
Yeah, brunch time.
Just as long as you're available to open both eyelids to see the Browns play. That's all
Oh.
we need.
You're better off missing that.
Okay. Got me there. Moving right along.
The next one is our Space Peanut, and this is actually the first batch that we've brewed of this beer. It's a monster. It's big. It's thick. It's rich. It's got a lot of flavors going on. We brewed this as a pastry stout, so it's meant to be sweet. It's kind of a dessert style beer. It was Keith's idea to throw a bunch of Reese's peanut butter cups in.
Can I volunteer? Let me give you my number, and when you do the breaking up of this stuff, I mean, I promise I won't only eat a pound.
We did a lot of quality control
Did
just to
you?
make sure
Yes,
that they
we
were
did.
They were
fresh,
on
so,
top?
yep.
Oh,
We brewed this with some lactose too to give it a lot of body and some sweetness and
Add to that milky kind of
yeah.
chocolatey
I am
flavor.
so glad I'm not lactose intolerant.
And then we recirculated this through coffee from friends of ours at Bent Tree Coffee in Canada.
Actually, this isn't Bentry.
Oh, it's not?
No.
That's right. That was.
Bentry is the congratulations.
That's right. That's right. This is this was the other roasters.
It's done with some coffee beans.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Very cool. Yep. Next thing you know, Craig will be joining the other 4. Stealing Reese's cups from the little kids. Hey, you got any Reese's cups in that bag, kid?
No
Give
more.
them up.
We utilize
These guys will give you some Smarties. All right, what's the last one?
So the last one is Small Talk. This is a Helles lager. It's pretty straightforward. Malt-driven lager, clear, crisp, easy to drink. We like to have lagers or beers like this on for the people who are kind of entry-level beer drinkers as far as craft beer goes, or just people who appreciate traditional beer.
Or just me, because I like lagers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do tend to have what we like on, so
Yeah.
yeah.
It's nice to have a nice, crisp, refreshing beer. Some of these beers can be very cloying, kind of sometimes, I don't want to say cloying, but they can be a little bit heavier, and, you know, you have one and you're full and you're done. So it's nice to have some of these crisp lagers, and even some of our IPAs are dry enough that you can have 3 or 4 of them, and not that I recommend that, but not get that full feeling. And that's what I really like about a lager. It's just crisp, clean. You can't hide anything in it. It's very straightforward. So I think it's most complimentary of a true brewing process. You can't hide if you've done something off in that. And I think that's the highest compliment, being able to drink one of these beers and say, wow, that's really good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, there's 4 awesome examples of top-notch beer there.
Thank you.
Yeah, we try to do collaborations with other breweries, some locally, some out of the state, just so we can get a different perspective of what different areas are doing, kind of what things they see. Use it as a learning opportunity, a chance for us to make our beer better or more unique, and give it some different characteristics that maybe necessarily somebody's not doing around here, or maybe something that we're doing. Let's just figure out a way to do it better. Plus just the camaraderie of getting with other breweries.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
talking about things. We're heading out to Colorado, like we talked about earlier, and we're brewing a beer this weekend, or on Monday, with Out of Range in Frisco, Colorado. So we brewed with them. They came here and brewed, and now we get to go to their place and brew with them. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
But tell us what other stuff you have drink-wise.
So on brunch day, which is typically Sunday, we do a full Bloody Mary bar. You kind of put all your own things together. Bacon, shrimp. We've got different hot sauces. We've got celery. We got carrots. Sometimes we'll put cheese out there. You can do whatever. Run the gamut
Sure.
with it. But we also do wines. We have a full wine menu. We do whites. We do reds. We've got we try to do a good mix, and we really want to make sure that we have good wine. We've done extensive amounts of different tasting with different companies just to make sure that the company, or the wine that we have on is good quality wine. That was really important to us. We also do have some liquor, and it's the same thing. We're going to make sure that we have some of the better liquors there, but we're not going to have a huge extensive list, but it's going to be probably 4 or 5 different things, of whether it's gin, whether it's rum, whether it's whiskey, vodka.
We did not touch on food either, while I think about it.
Yeah.
What kind of good foods do you have?
So yeah, we're always working on the menu. We want to make sure that we're able to get the food out efficiently to everybody, but we always want to try and do some different things. We always will have a soup on. During our brunch, we have some different things. We have chicken and waffles. We have avocado toast. We'll do eggs to style. We'll do egg sandwiches, whether it's on a biscuit or a English muffin, bagel, Maine lobster rolls. We do lobster bisque as well with our Sunday brunch. On our everyday menu, some of the really popular items, the biggest is going to be our brisket. Bob, who does all the smoking of the meat, smokes the brisket to perfection. It's a 5-ounce helping of brisket on a toasted brioche roll with barbecue served on the side. We also have a Babazona chicken, named after Bob. It's kind of like a mix between hot sauce and some Italian dressing, marinated in that, and then some drizzled on top beforehand.
Good stuff. I'd like to thank you for letting us try your beers.
Sure.
And, well, enjoy your trip
Will do.
Thank you, appreciate it.
and enjoy some great beers while you're in Colorado, too. But
Will do.
we're OH-Brew, and we're always in search of Ohio's finest beers, and we found it here in Cuyahoga Falls. All right. Well, on OH-Brew, we always like to talk to the patrons, and joining me today is
Kevin?
Kevin and
Dean.
Dean. You guys like beer?
Yes.
Obviously, if you're here,
That's why
you
we're
like
here.
beer. Tell us about this place. You guys have been here before, obviously.
We have.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great place. It's very chill. It's got some kind of modern look to it. The beer's fantastic.
You do a little business while you're here sometimes to offset the beer costs.
Yeah, technically I'm at a meeting, so hopefully my wife isn't watching because I'm at a meeting right now.
That's always perfect.
Yeah.
Always perfect.
It's a great local place. It truly is. It's worth the drive from wherever you are. The beer is delightful. It's very refreshing. It's worth the drive.
All right.
And there's a patio out back. I haven't been back to it since they've renovated it, but it's right on the river.
That's right.
I think it's really cool. Yeah.
So,
Very nice place to
get
come
outside
in the
and-
summertime.
so you're looking forward to summer, both of you. I know I am.
And I have been here. I was here once in the summer out on the patio. It's delightful, and the food is very nice.
yeah, it was very good.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Enjoy your beers.
shall.
Enjoy your time here at Missing Mountain.
There you go. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us today for this episode of OH-Brew. And we'd like to thank everyone here at Missing Mountain Brewing Company for their hospitality. And remember, at OH-Brew, we're always in search of Ohio's finest beers.